Top of the morning to you guys. Hey, happy St. Patty's Day. You know what? I was thinking, like, what can I review? What anime should I review? There's a ton out there, just memory bank. But for some reason, I have this song stuck in my head. And I feel like I have to review this anime. No, it's not Sword Art Online. It is Full Metal Alchemist. Now, the first series, not Brotherhood, and I'm going to give you a little information on this. I've seen both of them. I like the first series better. I know the second Brotherhood went manga, just beginning to end. And the first series, had a little bit of it, but had to stray off because the manga wasn't done. I love the first series. I thought the first series was a little bit more emotional, impactful, memorable. The music was fantastic. Of course, they bring over this stuff in Brotherhood. But I like the animation more in the first series. I like just the way they capped it off in the first series, especially with that movie that pretty much ended the whole thing. I absolutely love this series, Full Metal Alchemist. Now, this Full Metal Alchemist, the first series is about 51 episodes plus the movie. Or was it 50 episodes plus the movie? They believe it was 51 episodes plus the movie. Now, if you don't know anything about Full Metal Alchemist, what the hell's the matter with you? What is wrong with you? All you need to know is Ed and Alphonse. These two, God, man, just the emotional, the brother. That's why the second series is called Brotherhood. That's why, and don't worry, both those two are not the same, continuity. Full Metal Alchemist, and Brotherhood. Brotherhood is separate from the first series. It's like Brotherhood's like a reboot type deal. But I'm talking about the first series, Full Metal Alchemist. I'm confusing everybody, am I? The emotional impact these two brothers have, the sacrifice that they make for each other, the bond they share. I mean, I could somewhat relate to that. I have, I'm the oldest of two. I have a younger sister and I have a younger brother. I would do anything for them, and that's exactly what happens with Edward Elric. Pretty much what happens is that their mother passes. This is not really a spoiler. This is what happens in the very beginning. Their mother passes. They know alchemy, and alchemy is this type, kind of like magic, so to speak. But I mean, alchemy, basically, they're able to bring stuff to either life or, make things out of things, if that makes sense. They can make a radio by just using a circle and using, alchemy, using these type of methods, they have to do their research in order to make things appear, so to speak. Of course, the age-old thing, once you do something's being taken away. So it's like, either you're gonna alchemy, you could do alchemy, but something is being taken away, whether it be a little bit of your soul or what, so to speak, or what we find out at the very end of the series, which is kind of crazy. I won't spoil it for you, but anyway, so their mother passes and their little kids, Ed and Al, they're little kids. They research all this stuff. They learned alchemy at a very, very young age. Their father's not there, pretty much abandoned them, but he left most of his work, and there's a big mystery about their father that is revealed at the end, which is very, very good. So basically, they gather all the material, they learn all their stuff, they try to bring their mother back from the dead, which horribly goes wrong. And the imagery of that scene is beautiful. The music is beautiful. The heartfelt sacrifice that Ed tries to do is beautiful. So Ed loses an arm, and Alphonse loses his whole body, but he takes Alphonse's soul and places it into a huge armor type dude type. Like if you see armor from the Knights of the Round Table or whatever, it's like that, but way bigger, and it's just a big ass armor, and he is able to transmit Al's soul into that armor, and there's nothing in there. There's no body. There's nothing like that. It's just armor, his armored body with a symbol that keeps his soul in place. So basically, the whole story is for for Ed to get Al his body back, and for Al to get his body back as well. But really, just to get Ed to get his body back, but really to get Alphonse's body back in the long run. Ed will do anything to get Alphonse's body back. Whew! Sorry to confuse you guys. This is so hard, kind of sometimes. Ugh, let's do it. Well, anyway, the first thing I think about when I think about this series is the beautiful soundtrack. The OST in this is amazing. The openings, the endings are great, but the overall score of this series is what lifts it up. It just brings them. You won't get this from the manga. The manga is great, but the animated series just brings it to a whole new level just because of the music. The music it's like the Steven Spielberg effect, right? I mean, there's a scene that's happening. It could be the scene of Ed and Al, by their mother's deathbed, and it's impactful, it's emotional, but you're not getting really too emotional by it. But once that music plays, it is just gets you on your knees crying like, yeah, you go down to your mom, I love you, It's just so freaky. It hits home. It brings kind of almost tears to your eyes because it's so great. I'm not joking. This soundtrack is fantastic. The action sequence that go on when there's alchemy being used, like Roy Mustang. We meet Roy Mustang. He's a badass. We see Risa, Hawkeye. She's a badass. You meet all these characters. Hughes, Armstrong. You meet all these characters, and when they go to do battle, Scar, when they all do battle, that music, when it hits, it just makes it, there's one track that makes it feel like it's a chase, but it's that little, just a repeat, like, it's amazing. It's amazing. The soundtrack's amazing. I encourage you to go pick it up. I encourage you to buy it. Find the site, go buy the damn OST, the whole soundtrack. Just buy it. Just buy it. It's amazing. That's what brings this series to another level. But I gotta say, man, the characters in this show, the characters are what drives the show. The goal is what drives the show. You feel for Ed. You want Ed. They're looking for the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone is what can possibly get their bodies back. But the Philosopher's Stone is kind of like the jewel from Inuyasha, it's corrupted. I mean, just because it could get your bodies back, I don't think you should tempt with it, because it just brings more harm than good. Throughout the whole series, there's other character stories that go along with Ed and Al's, and it's tragic. The first story that Ed and Al I'm not going to spoil it, like I said, they encounter a little girl, that story just broke my heart. And then we have Hugh's storyline, with his little girl, his family, and what he has to deal with, broke my heart. And Roy trying to basically do what he needs to do his job, but knowing that there's corruption all around him, and he wants to be the Fuhrer. He wants to lead he wants to pretty much lead the army. He wants to do good, but how are you going to do good when there's so much corruption surrounding them? Such great characters. I can go on and on with the characters that you meet. I think one of my favorites also is Scar and his backstory. So tragic. I mean, this is full of emotion. It's dramatic. It's very tragic. A lot of these characters have very tragic backstories. But you know what? It's necessary. These characters' backstories are what we get emotionally attached to and what we emotionally can relate to. Because if you hear somebody's tragic backstory and it's really solid, I mean, it's something that, sure, maybe you heard a couple of their stories before, but then there's a couple stories that you have like a little twist to it, like, oh damn, that is somewhat like, that's kind of realistic. It's kind of realistic, especially with Scars, his dealing with his people, the army coming to take over, just absolutely his brother, alchemy, religion, corruption, politics, sacrifice, so many themes going on around here, whether life and death, playing God, so many themes in this series, and it just is fantastic. What I absolutely love about the series is the consequences. These characters will do stuff and there has to be consequences. That's exactly like real life. Whatever you do in real life, there will be consequences, whether it be good or bad. There will be something that, let's just say the air, the world around you will take away from you if you do something, good or bad. Man, absolutely just love the consequences in the show. Love where these characters end up at. I think it's fantastic. I think and bringing back characters as well. How all these characters tie in. Ed and Al's teacher, funny. There's comedy in here, so it's just not all dramatic. There's a lot of good humor in here, especially with everybody always telling Ed, hey, so pint size, he's so small. And then they think that Alphonse is the Fullmetal Alchemist, but it's really Ed because he's so small. They just like, you're the Fullmetal Alchemist? It's just hilarious. The humor, especially with Roy and Ed when they go at it. Risa and her dog. Absolutely, the comedy was very, very, it balanced. It was great balance. Excuse me, great balance from the comedy and the drama. Just great pacing as well. So balance, great pacing, pretty well done. There's a couple episodes that are a little bit slower, but everything seems to move along quite well. I think the episodes that were kind of a little bit slower is when Ed and Al have to go to a town, not the one with the religious priest, but another town, so to speak. I forgot what town it was, but there's a couple episodes that are a little bit slower, and you kind of want to move on and go to a bigger story than that little story that they were having. Actually, it really dwells into religious kind of alchemy and stuff and everything, but very great. The ending, I can't stress how the ending was so great as well. A lot of people didn't like the ending, especially with the movie that came out. They didn't like how it all kind of finished up. I absolutely loved how it finished up. I think it was more likely, I'm going to warn you right now, spoilers right now, I guess. Not really spoilers, but if you don't want to hear what I have to say, a lot of people, I think, did not like the ending because of a certain couple didn't happen or couples didn't happen. It was more like pairing and romance issues. We do get romance in the series, so to speak. It's really in the back burner, but we do get hints of it. But, a certain pairing didn't happen or, certain things didn't happen at the very end. That was fine with me. Absolutely loved how it wasn't about romance. It wasn't about really, that type of situation. It was about Ed and Al, just struggling to get their bodies back and finding a way just to, to find pretty much peace within themselves. Ed still struggling with his, the hatred of his father, just things that were still hindering right there, still just right there. And at the very end, it just culminated of them just, they're free. They're together, and that's what it was. It was really just the bond that these two brothers shared and the means of no matter what, they were going to be together to the very end. So, and then we're going to have each other's back. So absolutely love that. So thank you guys for listening. Subscribe, like. I hope you go watch the first series of Fullmetal Alchemist and go watch Brotherhood. Brotherhood is really good, but I really do enjoy that first series even more. So thank you guys for listening and have a happy St. Patty's Day. Top of the morning, drink a pint. Ed.